Hi, we're back for week 3 of our SUEDEsays Travel Bag Sew-Along. In this week, we will focus on assembling our front and back main body bag pieces to our lining, assembling our side top pattern piece number 5 to our lining, and we'll be attaching the D-rings to this pattern piece for your strappy handles. We will be assembling our bottom of the bag, which is pattern piece number 4, which will include our bag feet, the plastic grid, and our lining. Before we get started, we have to choose the edge finish we want for the inside of our bag. To better understand this, we will be using the edge finish on each one of our sections of our bag prior to sewing it all up. Here are the choices. The serger is what I have chosen. If you don't have a serger, most likely you will have overcasting stitches on your sewing machine. Used with your blind hem or your overcasting presser foot, you can get similar results. The zigzag stitch is another option I gave. But remember, this stitch does not encase or go around the edge of your fabric, so you may still experience fraying. And the bias binding finish. This one you will see in our pattern instruction sheet. So there you have it. The choice is yours. Now we want to attach our lining as well as our outside fabric of our top and side pattern piece number 5. Remember, this is an extra step that is not in your instruction sheet. Just make sure you put wrong sides together when you're attaching this. Okay, here is our bottom pattern piece number 4. And I want you to make sure that you look at all these little circles. Those are our markings that we're going to use our pen so we can know where we're going to place our bag feet. So I just placed my pattern piece on the wrong side of my fabric. In my case, it's the vinyl. Okay, it really doesn't matter the marking. Pen or pencil or whatever you want to use, if it's interfaced, it should not show through at all. So I'm going to just mark, and I have taken out my holes, so I have a little place where I can just go right in there and mark my red marks. So all of these are finished. I'm going to take my pattern piece off. Now, I also want to make sure that in my placement of my plastic grid that we are going to use as a base for our bottom, not even close to our 5/8 seam allowance. So once again, I took a ruler and I just marked out 5/8 all the way around. Okay, so I have those red markings on there as well. The next thing I wanted to tell you is I kind of had a oops. I trimmed my plastic grid to 6 and 12.5. So I took a little bit off of my measurements that I gave you earlier. So as I'm placing that and I'm centering it on my bottom outside fabric, I'm making sure, as I'm figuring out my placement, that I still have extra going along here So this is sitting on the inside of my 5/8 seam allowance. This is really important because when we go and layer our lining fabric on top of this, we are actually going to encase our grid inside that fabric to both pieces. So as I'm marking this, I see sometimes that little grid is not going to be right where our feet are going to go. So I am going to take that and I'll just snip a little bar out of my grid to make sure that that will go up and through. But before I do that, I want to get these feet on there. Okay, so you have a plate like this. I don't know if you're used to using feet for your bags, but you have like a little plate like this, and then you have your foot. So I will be using my scissors to kind of nip my hole just a little bit. I'll be using some pliers so I can save my fingers as I'm bending once I get it through. Okay, now you see that all of the feet are poked through your outside fabric. Now before we're going to go and put the little washers in the back, if you can see that, the little washers in the back, we are going to place our grid just like so. So they will be also going through the grid. Okay, now you see that I have poked my prongs of my feet through the grid as well. And if you noticed, it is within my 5/8 seam allowance. So I will be able to sew right up against there. And when we sew this onto our bag, it will not be a part of our 5/8 seam allowance. So now all you need to do is take these washers put them on like so, and clamp them down. Just like this. There you have it. Okay, now there's my lining. So what's going to happen next is I'm going to sandwich my lining, the grid, and my vinyl piece, the bottom piece, together. I'm going to obviously have my vinyl on top, as you know, when I'm sewing, and I'll be sewing right along my gridded edge that I can feel. So we'll have a stitching lane there. Okay, I just gave you a lot more things to do this week. I'm really excited to see how our bags are coming along. So until next week, I'll see you next time.